Hey there. Just get in. Let me fix that a little bit. All right. Oh, no, I did the wrong thing here. All right. Let me end this. One moment, guys. All right, let me do this one more time for Smoothie Shred. One moment, just take your bathroom break, get your water. I'll be starting in a second. I was almost ready, but I made a mistake. 1 second here. Let's try this one more time. Post into group and Smoothie Shred. There we go. There it is. All right. What we're trying. All right, I'm having a little bit of a struggle with that. Let's move on to making sure that Instagram is live. And then I might just need to. Okay, try this one more time over here. One second, I promise I'll be right with you. I know you're just loving watching the side of my face. I've almost got it. Here we go. Let's just share it this way. All right, Smoothie Shred. I'm going to share it from my Goodbye Lupus page because I'm having a bit of a struggle getting it to go live, but I want you to have it. So I'll just monitor it from the group as well. Okay. All right. Good enough. And sometimes good enough is good enough, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to get done. Okay, here we go. So Dr. Brooke Goldner, streaming to you live for Wellness Wednesday, where I come on as a public service to help you have a better life, better health, answer your questions, whatever I could do to help you be better. And I am live on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, everywhere where people are who have questions, hopefully, so I can help you out. Now, today, for the coaching segment of it, I wanted to talk to you a bit about stress because it is actually Stress Awareness Month. And so Stress Awareness Month is really to help people take a moment to reflect on how stress is affecting your life. I was just on the morning news this morning with Maggie Fleckno on the CW, and I'll share the segment later when we get that all ready to go. But it's a really important thing to understand because stress has a huge impact on health. And as I talked about today with Maggie, there is a normal amount of stress that's healthy. There is. Sometimes people think stress is bad. Stress, we don't want stress, right? But as I was telling Maggie this morning before we went live, because she was talking to me about her stress, we can have stress, but not be stressed, okay? There is a normal amount of stress that we should all have in order to be motivated to do things. Same with anxiety. There is a normal amount that is necessary for us to be purposeful. So if you can imagine it this way, imagine you had zero stress or anxiety at all. Would you get out of bed? Would you, lay around? Would you clean? Would you work? Would you go to school? What would you do if there was zero concern about making enough money to survive, graduating school, whatever it is? If you had zero stress, you'd be extremely unproductive. So there is a magic amount of stress or anxiety, whichever one you want to call it, that makes us go, I should get out of bed today. I should go to work. I should be productive, right? That there is a little bit of that should that gets us moving, right? And that's important. However, for a lot of folks, it goes far beyond that. The should becomes too big, and the amount of shoulds become too many, and people become overwhelmed and most commonly exhausted. So how many of you watching right now are feeling that way, that the amount of stuff you need to do is exhausting, that you're tired just thinking about it, right? There was just an article that I was reading from The Atlantic yesterday. And it was all about how women experience stress in an even greater way than men typically, right? There's always exceptions. I don't want any men listening to be like, hey, I've got stress. I know. But most commonly, and there are exceptions, there are families that are different, but most commonly, while men work and have family life, women take on a lot more of the stress in terms of they work, but then they also are the primary person managing their household. They're also managing their kids' mental health, school achievements, grades, other things. And when they were looking at the differences in how men and women typically handle things, especially as parents, they find that men were more able to turn their brains off. They could work, come home, and kind of zone out. And with the women, even if they took 10 or 15 minutes not to do something, during that time, they were making lists in their head of things that they still need to do. How many of you are guilty of that, right? Male, female, doesn't matter. If you were doing that, if you were taking the time where you should be resting, and instead of doing something purposeful to relax, you're instead just thinking about all the stuff you didn't do or should do, then you have high stress. And high stress is going to impact you in a negative way. See, there's these chemicals that are released into your bloodstream when stress hits. Now, normally, when it's the right amount for productivity, it's the amount that just gives you that little bit of adrenaline that goes, all right, get out of bed, time to go, time to work. But if you have the high levels of those stress hormones running through your body, what that does is that's useful in an emergency, right? If there's an emergency going on and you have to run, for example, those stress hormones help you go. But if you are experiencing high level of stress hormones every single day at a high level, it actually wears you out, and it increases your risk of things like heart disease, high blood pressure, but also big one, IBS. Oh my goodness, people with IBS, the stress is just going right into their guts, right? And increases your risk of things like autoimmune diseases. And so while many people who come to me to reverse their autoimmune diseases want to talk about their diet, they often push back when I talk about their stress, and they make excuses. Moms especially. I tell a mom to get 30 minutes of a relaxing self-care activity a day. They look at me like I have 3 heads. I don't have time for that. I've got to do this, 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 and this. I got to keep my household running. I have to take care of my kids. I got to do this. And I keep telling them, but you're exhausted and you're sick. If you don't change the way you treat yourself, soon you're not going to be able to do anything on your list. So if you want to be able to do everything on your list, you have to be on the list in terms of your mental health, your relaxation, your sleep. And if you're not taking care of your mental health, eventually you will become too exhausted and sick to be able to do anything on that list. And a lot of times when people come to me, that's how they are. They're barely able to function at all. And you've seen, I'm sure, testimonials of other folks who have done my programs. There was a letter I read from someone who sent a letter to me saying she literally was putting a mattress in every room of her house so she could rest. And then she read my books and did the protocol, and now she's got energy and she's living her life again, right? You don't want to get to that point where you're literally looking for where you can lie down in every room before you start taking care of this. We've worked with someone just recently in rapid recovery who is an amazing mom. She's homeschooling a whole pack of kids, managing her house, and also feeling just exhausted all the time. And we kept saying, listen, we got to lower the stress. It's overwhelming you. You're unhappy and you're exhausted, and your body's telling you it's too much. And when she would push back at first, it was more like, well, other moms seem to be doing it. And we had to say, listen, you don't know anything about how those moms are handling it. A lot of people will just go through it all with a smile on their face, and they are exhausted on the inside. They are sick and in pain. They're just not saying it. Or if they're not, maybe they're doing a lot more self-care than you are, and you just don't know it, right? When I was talking to Maggie this morning on the CW, she was shocked when she said to me, I don't know anyone who's not stressed. I said, I'm not stressed. And she goes, how? You're a doctor and a mother. How are you not stressed? I said, because you can have stress and not be stressed. I have stress. I have clients and patients all over the world with serious illnesses that I'm helping them with every single day. I have, I'm raising my son. I have my, I help out my family. There's things in my life that are stressful, but I don't let it emotionally tax me because I take care of myself. And I learned this a long time ago because when I had lupus, having lupus from a young age, it gave me some things. It gave me some gifts. Even though it was excruciating, it gave me gifts. And one of the gifts was learning self-care, because having an autoimmune disease, I'm sure there are plenty of you watching who have one right now, having an autoimmune disease, if you let your stress get out of control, you're too sick to get out of bed. At least I was. So I had to learn to make sure I always got enough sleep. I needed 12 hours of sleep a night when I had lupus just to function. And I needed to function because I went to school, I went to college, I went to medical school. In medical school, I got sick because I couldn't manage my sleep, right? We learn when we're sick what our body really needs. And so because I learned that when I was young, that I needed to de-stress, that I needed to have fun, that I needed to exercise, that I needed to do all these different things to take care of myself, that taught me the value of self-care. But a lot of the folks who come to see me, especially the moms, they don't understand or value self-care for themselves. They treat themselves like they're a blood supply for the entire family. I really love that example because it makes you really understand it. If you're donating blood just to be a good person and you want to donate blood, you have a rare blood type and you want to help the blood banks, you can't donate blood every day. You can't donate blood every week. You have to wait long enough for you to replenish your blood supply before you donate blood again. Why? Because otherwise you will die. Well, moms especially, but other folks too, often treat themselves as if they are a donor, a blood donor, an energy donor, a love donor, a support donor, but they never take the time to replenish it. And if you don't do that, if you keep giving and giving and giving, and you don't take time out for your self-care, you will collapse from the exhaustion or the illness. That's what's going to happen. And that's why I always say that if you think you're too busy for self-care, you will eventually be too sick to be busy. And I don't want you to be one of those people. That's usually when people come to me when they just can't do it anymore and they're willing to think about things differently. They're willing to try things differently. And if doing self-care just feels like more work, you're doing it wrong. That should be your time where you just do something to feel good. You need it. Your soul needs it. Your body needs it. So make sure that on a daily basis, you are doing certain things to help yourself with your stress. So number one, you should have at least one activity a day that is for you to relax, right? To release the cortisol, to help your body wind down. You can't just work and then work in the house and then just lay down in the bed and right? You can't do it. You can't do it. It's not good for you. Something that helps you release stress every day. A wonderful thing, if you can do it, is exercise. I know some of you are in too much pain to do exercise, and that's not going to be the one for you. But those of you who can, it is so good for your mental health, your stress, and your physical health to get in some high intensity exercise every day. I know the difference for me. On the days that I go to my boot camp in the morning, I feel so energized all day long, even more than normal. I feel so good. My mood is even better. My energy is fantastic. And my day goes by so quickly, even though I got up earlier to go to the gym before my day started. It's always been my favorite way to start my day, even though I don't like waking up in the morning. I'm not a morning person. I don't know if that's a surprise for you. I'm not a big fan of mornings. My favorite thing would be to stay up till like midnight and then sleep into about 10, and that would be really fun. But that's not where the world timing really works, so I don't do that. But when I wake up in the morning to go to the gym, it's different because it's my time. And when I get there and all the other people in my boot camp greet me and we smile at each other and we laugh about how brutal the workout is, it's time for me. And so I get multiple types of self-care in the morning because I get the social time. And a recent study I just read was talking about how much even a few minutes of social time a day decreases anxiety and depression in people. just a few minutes a day of talking to a neighbor, going for a walk and saying hi to someone. Or for me, getting that social time at the gym. At the gym, they don't know me as Dr. G. They don't even know. They just know me as Brooke. I come in and work out and make jokes, and we just, and it's just so fun to just go there and have that social connection and be seen. Right? So that's number one. Number two, it's super high intensity. I am working my tootsie off. And I get endorphins. So by the time I leave, I've got dopamine flowing through my system, endorphins. And so by the time I get home, take my shower, I am in the best mood ever. And that only benefits my patients and my wellness clients because they get to see me in that state versus I just rolled out of bed, wiped the crust out of my eye, and sat down and tried to take care of them, right? So me doing that self-care makes me better at my job. And it will for you, okay? So exercise, social time, very important. If you can't do that, or in addition to that, it's great to do things that help you relax, especially for bed. So my nighttime routine is a bit different. My nighttime routine, I'm not gonna exercise. I don't want endorphins at night. So instead, I'll do something like a long hot bath because that helps my muscles relax. So when I'm working all day, I'm like, like this. I get into the bath and I put the hottest water in I can tolerate, and I just feel all my muscles melt. And then I start to yawn, right? So that is my relaxation time. Now, I understand for some folks, especially if you got really little kids, the time you have for these things might be limited, especially if you're trying to get some sleep. Do something each day for self-care, even if it's listening to a guided meditation as you lay in bed at night before sleep. Do something every day to relax. And then plan at least one really big thing each weekend. Because usually on the weekend, people have a little bit more time. And so that old adage about work hard, play hard, that actually does work. So we look to do even more fun things when it's on the weekend because we know our friends are available and we have more time. And so for like this weekend, we've already been looking at 2 different museums that had really cool exhibits, singing karaoke with friends. Like we are reaching out to be social and connect, and most importantly, have fun. And when you've got that going on, you get multiple benefits because one is when you're doing that, you get those endorphins, you feel good. And number 2 is you have something to look forward to so that when you're working, you're like, yeah, but I can't wait till this weekend. I wonder what song I'm going to sing on karaoke, right? So it's very important, and it is not a waste of time, and it is not too selfish. Your spirit needs it. And the more stressed and exhausted you are, the more you need this. If you ignore the exhaustion, if you ignore the stomach upset, if you ignore the symptoms that you're getting from the stress and the feeling of overwhelm and the anxiety, if you ignore those things, eventually you won't be able to ignore it anymore because it will just manifest itself in such severe exhaustion and illness that you have no choice but to take a break. And usually at that point, the break you take is not going to be as fun as the self-care I'm talking about. At that point, the break is going to be, I can't get off the couch and I'm depressed because I'm not living my life anymore. So it is not something that you just do if you're sick. It's not something that maybe just some people need. We all need that time. And the more things you're holding up, the more people you are helping, the more responsibility you have, the more you need self-care to be big and consistent. Listen, if you're on vacation on a tropical island, you don't need to schedule self-care. You're literally living it. But if you're working, raising a family, if you feel that stress inside of you, you need somewhere to let it out. You need something to turn off the valve and let the stress out. And that's what your self-care activities are going to be. And so in my book, Goodbye Autoimmune Disease, I do a deep dive into this because I wrote that book to help the folks who couldn't just read the nutrition protocol and Goodbye Lupus and do it. There's plenty of people who have. That's why that book has stayed a bestseller now for, goodness, 10 years. Why? Because that nutrition plan works. But if you are overstressed, if you are anxious or depressed, if you're living in overwhelm, if you're not getting enough rest, if you're not treating your mental health the way you need to, then nutrition alone won't fix it. And you'll have a lot more trouble sticking to nutrition because your stress is so high, you're going to keep looking for other ways to feel better, like eating junk, because you're not taking care of your emotional health in the way you really should. So if you know this is something you need a deeper dive into, of course you can make an appointment with me. Then I can personally say, here's how you should do it, right? And I can help you plan that. In my rapid recovery group, the next group's August 22nd, that's part of their homework every day. Every single day. They don't even get a passing score for being on rapid recovery. Even if their diet is perfect, they don't pass unless they did self-care. And so even the busiest people, from CEOs to ICU doctors to the busiest of all, stay-at-home moms, all right? Even the busiest of people find a way to get that self-care time in, because suddenly I'm watching and they want to do well and pass, right? And so people figure it out. So sometimes people need me to watch over them and help them. But if you want to do this on your own and you need help, Goodbye Autoimmune Disease is on Amazon, and it has many, many chapters about how to do this. But since it is Stress Awareness Month, I want it to be on your menu too. You know, I just posted yesterday a little cute video we made with my expression that I like to say that your genetics is the menu of what diseases you can get, but it's your lifestyle that places the order, right? And so if you are trying to make sure that you're placing a healthy order, you're not just going to be hyper nourishing for your food and your water, but you're going to be nourishing your spirit with that self-care too. Make sure that is on the menu for you. Make sure it's scheduled into your day. It's going to make a huge difference in how much energy you have, how much positivity and hope you have, and how much health you have. So I hope that that helps you. If any of you listening realize I am exhausted all the time, even if I get enough sleep, the reason you're exhausted is not then because of your sleep. It's because your brain is not getting the rest it needs in terms of enjoying your life, self-care, all right? Mental health is essential to the quality of our life and the quality of our health. So I hope that helps all of you listening right now be able to make some better choices about that. All right, let's see what questions we have here. All right, not here yet. Let's look over here. Let's see what Instagram's asking. All right. Lots of hellos. Hi, Sonia in Arizona. Hi, Expert by Bruce. Happy Wellness Wednesday. Marianne says, I wake up almost every day with inflammation in my stomach. Yeah, and a lot of times when people have stomach pain, right? I'm assuming when you say inflammation in your stomach, you mean pain, right? I mean, how do you know your stomach's inflamed, right? So if you are waking up in pain, a lot of times people are going to the doctor to get medications for it. But sometimes that's not the answer. Sometimes that pain you're feeling is because of your stress, because of anxiety. These things manifest as stomach aches most commonly. So IBS is fueled by stress and anxiety, fueled by it. And then the symptoms make people more stressed and anxious, and then it kind of just spirals out of control, right? So while eating right is important, relaxing that gut by relieving the stress is really important too. Hi, Miriam from Vegas. All right, I just talked about how you decrease your cortisol. Now that Judith speaks, cool. I'm glad you got the book. It's so helpful. I was teaching at an event this weekend, and I had two people come up to me from the audience and said, Goodbye Autoimmune Disease was what I needed to heal. I've been going to events. I know how to eat, and I wasn't getting better. That was what I needed. And I'm going through it every day. I'm doing the work. I'm reading the chapters. I'm taking the time to do the assignments I put in there. So if you know that this is what you need, that's what I wrote that for. Listen, it's got case studies on reversing many different diseases, but the majority of that book is the emotional work to create a healthy lifestyle, and it makes a difference. All right. Janine Guzman says, hi, I'm trying to heal MS. I'm doing hypernourishment right now, and I'm planning to transition into the Goodbye Autoimmune protocol. Do you remember working with a nutritionist to make sure I'm doing so safely? No, because most nutritionists, well, I know nutritionists, they don't know how to do our protocol correctly. And unfortunately, they often will tell people to deviate. I was just talking to someone who is going to school to become a nutritionist, and he was telling me how frustrating it is because he knows everything he's learning is not accurate. Most of it is coming out of the 1950s, where they were still looking at the food groups like, you know, some meat and some dairy and all these things that we all know is not the case anymore. And so he said he's just been studying my my information because he wants to give the information correctly. So if you are worried about not doing it correctly, the best thing you could do would be to work with Thomas or myself. So Thomas and I created the protocol. And so if you wanted to get in more quickly, you could always book something with my husband, Thomas. He created the protocol that healed me. He is an expert and he runs the groups with me. So you could always book with him and he could make sure that you have a protocol that suits you with your issues, whether it's your taste bud issues, any gut issues, and of course your autoimmune issues. So if you want to know how to do our protocol correctly, the only people that know how to do it correctly is us. So that would be what I recommend. But I mean, it's a safe protocol. There's nothing unsafe about eating lots of vegetables. But you also, if you haven't yet, if you're on Facebook, join our Smoothie Shred community too. That's our free community. I know it's in Facebook, so most folks are, old like me that are on there, but there are some folks that are younger. That is our free community, and a lot of people support each other and share their wins and recipes and stuff in there too. All right, let's see one more from Instagram. Let's see. Vitamin Katie, I went skiing over the weekend and ever grateful for you. I know what to do. Yes, you do. And that's awesome. I love that you're taking that energy and health and using it to have fun. That creates dopamine and that releases stress, right? Don't you feel great after you did that? That's what we're looking for. All right. Let's see. And Sheila says, hello, I'm interested in your next appointment or next rapid recovery. Thank you. So if you're looking to do any programs or work with me, if you're on Instagram, there's a link in my profile. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, there's a link in the description, or you can go to goodbyelupus.com and click work with Dr. G, and there's lots of ways to do that. Okay, let's see here. Let's come over to what's going on YouTube. All right, Jill says, I'm a vegan, healthy food only, but I can't help but wonder the mechanism by which strict keto diet helps people with mental illness and other health issues, and that they're not dying from heart disease. Well, there are mechanisms, absolutely, and they are getting heart disease. 100%, they're getting heart disease. So for a lot of folks, going to keto or these high meat diets is dramatically cleaner than the diet they came from. So anytime you go to a diet that is cleaner, better than what you did before, you're going to get benefits, right? So if someone went from the standard Western diet and they were eating ice cream, potato chips, all this kind of junk processed items, and most people, especially in Western countries, are eating so much. Americans are in some cases estimated to eat like 70% of their diet from processed and ultra processed food. So if you get rid of all that and then you switch to just eating, meat and maybe some vegetables, although they don't eat much vegetables, they're not getting all of the garbage from the processing, right? So that's going to make them feel better. The problem is with ketogenic diets, so the problems are multifold. One is we're not supposed to run on ketones, all right? So we are designed so that our optimal fuel is glucose. That is what our bodies are designed to run off of. Our brain requires glucose to run optimally. So the ketone pathway is an emergency backup plan. And the backup plan is really supposed to be there to help us through an emergency where we can't access our fruits and vegetables and things that we need. And we're not meant to stay on that protocol as a way of life, all right? That's one problem. Another problem is when you're not eating all of your vegetables, your urine is going to become very acidic. That is not healthy for your kidneys. That is not healthy for people who want to avoid things like gout. That is not healthy for people who have a tendency towards stones, because acidic urine will get more stones in it. The highest risk factor for kidney stones are people who are on high meat diets, right? So you've got that. On top of that, they've shown that the bacteria in the gut that produces the hormone that tells your body to put cholesterol, to put fat into the arteries, specifically comes from a bacteria that thrives on meat. They did a study looking at people who were vegan a year out, at least a year or more. And when they gave them something to eat that had meat in it, they did not release that hormone. It's called TMAO. They did not release it, which meant that they didn't get the signal to deposit the cholesterol in their arteries. But people who ate meat regularly did, because it's the bacteria doing it. So if you're cultivating bacteria in your gut that prefer meat because that's the ones who are going to survive if you eat that way, you are absolutely depositing more and more fat into your blood vessels, which is going to raise your risk of heart attack. You're going to raise your cholesterol. I never remember his name, but the doctor who wrote the carnivore diet book, he's not a carnivore anymore. Well, he was never a carnivore. He's a confused herbivore, but he was eating as if, right? And now he's eating fruit. He's eating fresh foods again. So he's eating plants. Why? Because one, his testosterone plummeted, and two, his cholesterol was like 8 times what it should have been for health, and other issues as well. And he saw that it was causing him harm. And now he doesn't do it anymore, although he still sells the book. If I found out something I was doing was causing harm, I wouldn't sell the book anymore. But I'm only out there to help you. So the thing is, there are a lot of things you can do that can make you feel better in the moment, but not all of them are making you healthier. The other one is it makes you more diabetic. So I was just talking to someone today about this, where she was wearing one of those glucose patches to monitor her glucose. And she said, when I eat meat, my glucose stays low. But if I eat beans or something, then it spikes. And I said, it's a trick. Because while meat does not have glucose in it, right, it doesn't spike your sugars, it makes you more diabetic. So what that means is when you eat the meat and the eggs, it deposits more fat into your insulin receptors, right? But it doesn't spike your sugar in the moment because there's not much sugar in it to begin with. But then the next time you eat some grapes, your blood sugar goes through the roof because now the insulin receptors are clogged up with the fat from the meat meal. So it makes it look like the fruit is the cause, but it's not, it's the meat. So it can be tricky. And so when folks don't understand this level of detail of how these mechanisms work, how the physiology works, they might look at just the endpoint. See, when I eat plant foods, my sugar goes up. When I eat meat foods, it goes down. And so therefore it's the plants that are causing the diabetes. No, it's the other way around, right? So when you get rid of the meat, then they stop causing those spikes. So it is a way that people can get immediate results that can make them feel better, but long-term, they are making themselves at risk for autoimmune, kidney failure, heart disease, and cancer at a skyrocketing rate. And nothing that's healthy would do that. And so it's not a healthy way to live. And that's why. All right. Let's see here. Yesenia says, Dr. G, I'm struggling to stay on track with just hypernourishing for now. Would an appointment with Thomas help with that, or do I have to see you? And what is good or bad about night shift work? Thank you. So Thomas is great at that. Thomas has some folks actually that see him for like 30 minutes once a week just to help with food addiction. He is really, really amazing at helping me with food addiction. And so he has folks that he sees that they just see him. When it helps to see a face, it's going to help you and go through the different issues that they came across, come up with game plans, and keep going. And they can overcome those addictions, solve the problems, and then not need the help anymore. So he's a great coach to have if you're looking for how to do the protocol correctly, how to stay on track with food addiction. Those are awesome. The reason people would want to talk to me, especially in places where I'm medically licensed, if you know you're going to need me to order labs or interpret labs, things like that, manage medications, I'm going to be the one that you want to talk to. If you have organ failure, better to talk to me because I know how to create the right nutrition plan that goes along with different levels of, for example, kidney failure. But for weight, for metabolic diseases like heart disease, diabetes, diseases like thyroid disease, things like that, where those are not required, he's an awesome choice. And you can see him much faster than you can see me for sure. All right, Jennifer, what do you know about men with big hard bellies? Since inflammation is not Pillsbury Doughboy fat, it's hard like you've run into a wall fat, even after eating plant-based for 8 years. Well, whether it's hard fat or soft fat, it's fat. And so the only thing that's going to work to get rid of that fat is a combination of eating the right diet and the right exercise. So if he doesn't have an illness, then you should use Thomas's book, Miracle Metabolism. With the right diet and the right exercise, the fat will come off, right? So he needs to do that. Even eating plant-based alone is not going to get rid of the fat. It has to be burned off. Wouldn't it be nice that you could just burn off fat by changing diet? That's what everyone wants to do. They want to lose weight by just eating better. You can lose some, but you'll plateau pretty quickly. fat has to be burned off. And then once you've burned it off, then even if you don't stay with the same level of exercise, you can maintain that lower body fat. Okay, let's see. Let's go back over here to see what Instagram is asking. Oh, actually, no, what am I doing? Facebook. I'm sorry, Facebook. I didn't mean to forget you. Here we go. Let's scroll down to where Facebook is on my thing here. Ola from Puerto Rico. Hello back to you. And hi from Saskatchewan, Canada. Hello there. All right. Celebrate eating plants. Passionate about my art and sharing cool stuff. Yes. Okay. All right. So Carmen is asking, hello, can I make this protocol? I'm going to guess you mean smoothie, not smoothie. This protocol smoothie and raw nutrition if I have hypothyroid, Hashimoto, and Sjogren's syndrome. Yes, in fact, you should absolutely do my full goodbye autoimmune protocol for those. All right, let's see what else we got. Connie in Saskatchewan saying, I got too much on my plate right now. I know you don't mean vegetables. Don't forget to schedule in your me time. All right, let's see. Kelly wants to know, hi, Dr. Brooke. My husband had half of his thyroid removed because of a growth on it. He has hypothyroidism. In your experience on your protocol, can you rejuvenate the half where he wouldn't need medication anymore? Or can he expect to reduce medication over time? You're not going to grow back a piece of thyroid that was removed. In my experience, if you do, please tell me, because I'm definitely writing that one up. You can optimize the function of the organs you have, but you're not going to grow a new one. But yeah, so he can do our protocol, see if he can optimize it, making sure he's taking his iodine and see what he can do. But if he's hypothyroid because he simply doesn't have enough thyroid left to produce everything he needs to, then he's probably going to need to take some thyroid hormone. But that's okay. I mean, the cool thing about the thyroid is if you're going to have an organ fail or lose an organ, that's the one organ that can be replaced with a pill. No other organ can be replaced with a pill that way, right? I mean, kidneys, a dialysis, heart, nope, that's not going to work, right? But if you're going to have to take something, replacement hormone for the thyroid, it's the least intrusive. But yeah, if he wants to optimize his health and see if there's a possibility to get more out of that thyroid, sure, go for it. Let me see. Oh, thank you, Danielle. You like the coaching the best. Let me see. Daniela, what can you do if you're sensitive to iodine on a GLP allergic reaction? I'd be looking for different sources. So you can't be allergic to all iodine because it's an essential nutrient that our body needs to function. But maybe you were allergic to that supplement. So for example, if you've used iodized salt for a lot of your life and you never had a reaction, there you go. If you don't have a reaction when you consume seaweed products, use that, but make sure you don't overdose on the iodine. So I'd be looking for other things, especially other things that you've tried and not reacted to. So most people at this point in our lives, we've been exposed to iodized salt. And if that didn't give you a reaction, I would just use that. Okay. All right, now I can go back to Instagram. Sorry, Facebook. All right, let's see. All right, love lemon and limes. Okay, I take omega-3 supplements while on the SAM. Is it best to stop taking it while following your protocol or continue taking? I don't know what the SAM is. I don't know what SAM is. So I don't know what you're asking me. You can take other supplements if you want on my protocol, but you don't need to take omega-3 when you're on my protocol because it's already built in. Okay, let's see what else people are asking on Instagram. All right, let me see. All right. All right, Shaziza one. I have mild coarse liver. Please advise my diet, please. Is this reversible? Well, it depends. I mean, if it's looking coarse because of fatty liver or inflammation, then yes, changing your diet will bring that inflammation down and can help. All right, let's see here. I mean, I've helped people with autoimmune hepatitis not need a liver transplant. People with fatty liver from diet or from unknown causes or from medications, it's definitely beneficial to your liver. So it would be a great idea. And Lavi Estabel, how can you hypernourish on low histamine? Just choose low histamine choices. It's very easy to do. Most cruciferous, all cruciferous vegetables are low histamine. Chia seeds are low histamine, or cold pressed flaxseed oil. There are whole low histamine fruit choices. Yeah, you just got to, there's you can Google and find all the low histamine choices if you want to look that up on your own. But there's a lot you can do. I've worked with a lot of people who have to do it that way. Rumford, New York. Hi, Dr. Brooke. Hello. Let's see. Yes, you can drink your coffee every day black. All right. And Marianne wants to know when you come into Las Vegas. I don't know when I'm coming to Las Vegas. I don't have any plans. I haven't been back to Las Vegas since before the pandemic. We used to go regularly, and we don't gamble at all. We just like to go and enjoy like the shows and, beautiful hotels and, quality time. It's fun. But yeah, I haven't been back in a long time. I know that there's maybe some conferences and things. So, but I'll let you know. Or if you put on a conference, tell me. Okay. All right. Let's come back over to YouTube then. All right. All right. AS wants to know BMs. How mushy is okay? Pretty mushy is okay. I mean, I see folks often who, as they're just getting on the smoothies, they're pretty much pooping smoothies. And, as long as it's not that you're having explosive diarrhea all day long, that's a problem. But if you go a few times a day and there's some urgency and it's mushy, and then the rest of the day you're fine in between, that might just be your adjustment, and that's fine. So yeah, I would look mostly at frequency and explosiveness as whether or not it's a problem. How much smoothie for hypernourish? You don't have to have any smoothie to hypernourish. It's just about getting the amounts in. So if you're trying to get in a pound of cruciferous vegetables a day, the smoothie is one of the easiest ways to do it, right? That's what I do when I'm working. I just drink it. But you don't have to. If you don't want mushy stool and you'd rather eat it in salads or use any of the recipes in Goodbye Lupus Hello Delicious, my recipe book, doesn't need to be through smoothies at all. I can only pack 8 ounces in them and then fruit on top. I can't pack mine like you can do. Sure you can. You can totally pack it the way I do. But if you're not, then just eat salad or any of the recipes in my book for the other half. All right, let me see. AR, have you had good results with menopausal women without HRT with the improvement of mood, sleep, and disease reversal? Thank you. Yes. The majority of the people I think that I see are women who are peri or postmenopausal. I mean, that's the highest group that has autoimmune diseases. Although I do see plenty of men and younger folks too. Yes, absolutely. And even people who are having their period will tell me, especially in my rapid recovery group, it's 6 weeks. So people who are going to have a period usually have one. They'll say, wow, that's the first time I didn't have PMS, the first time I haven't had moodiness or bad symptoms. So it makes a difference whether you're menstruating or whether you're done. Okay. Josie, can you eat tofu on the Goodbye Lupus protocol? It's not part of the Goodbye Lupus protocol, but it is part of the hypernourishment protocol. Okay. Nicole, hi, Dr. Goldner. I can't get my body used to drinking 12 ounces of water a day, constantly having to go to the bathroom. Is this it's the reason I've been unable to follow the protocol. Any advice? Well, one, we can't control what goes in has to come out. That's going to happen, okay? So that's number one. Number two, you might be peeing more than you need to if you're not getting enough sodium. So for some folks, they take a stand like Meatloaf when it comes to the salt. Meatloaf, the singer, the song where it's like, I would do anything for love. And then he goes, but I won't do that. Right? Like sometimes people, they're like, I'll do your protocol. I'll do anything to get better, but I won't eat salt. And then not only do they get dizzy and lightheaded and nauseous, but they also tend to pee too much because your kidney's job is to make sure that your blood sodium levels, among other electrolytes, stay where they should be. So if you add a ton of water, but not enough salt, your kidneys are just going to get rid of all the water to keep your blood sodium where it needs to be. So it is an important part of the program too, if you're not doing it. So that could be one. The other thing that it could be is maybe you're just drinking too much all throughout the day. And so if you're just sipping and dripping and you feel like you're just constantly going to the bathroom, a better way to do it is to maybe set a timer, like once an hour or once every couple hours, fill up a cup and chug it down. And then take a break until the next. So for an hour, 2 hours, just take a break and no water. And what you'll find is you're going to consolidate your urine. So you'll have a big cup of water, and then you'll have a big pee. And then you have a break, and then a big cup of water, and then big pee. And that way you can also choose when it's a convenient time to do it as well. And do the best you can. If you're getting everything else perfect and you're low on the water, okay, increase it as tolerated, but don't give up on the whole thing just because you're struggling in one area. So you can get as much result as you can get from that water level, and then work on all these other tips that I'm giving you to make sure you maximize it. Okay, let's see. Okay, D Egypt says, is having a blood pressure of 99/61 or below okay? I'm 38, no meds. I've always had lower BP around 110/67. At day 17 of hypernourishment, I'm loving the energy, better sleep, and mental focus. You answered your own question, right? So if your blood pressure has gone down to 99/61 and you've got tons of energy and mental focus, you're fine, right? And so low blood pressure is a good thing. It's ideal. The only people who should be worried about low blood pressure, the only ones, are people who are of heart failure, and you know if you have heart failure, right? If your heart has failed or is failing, you know about it. You're seeing a cardiologist, right? That's number one. That's just the heart is so sick it can't do its job. Or number two, if you're taking too much blood pressure medication, because then you're forcing your blood to be at or your heart to be at a lower pressure than it wants to be, and it's not able to get all the blood through the system. So for example, when somebody takes too much blood pressure medication, what happens is they feel tired and foggy and woozy. That's what low blood pressure feels. I'm going to pass out. I can't even stand up without seeing spots, right? It's also how dehydration feels, by the way. But that's one thing. But if your blood pressure is going down and you're like, yes, I'm good, so much energy, I feel amazing, I have so much clarity, then that means your heart's being more efficient. So I expect blood pressure to go down, and I want it to, right? That's why people get off their blood pressure medicine so quickly doing this. So your blood pressure is better at 99/61. Mine is often lower than that. I often will have blood pressure 95 or so, over 55, 58. And do I look like I'm about to pass out from low blood pressure? No, it's a sign of being athletic and healthy. You know, back in the day, I remember learning about this in medical school, and it was so fascinating to me that this is why you have to also think differently when you think about like the usual reference ranges in your lab tests, for example. Those don't mean that's the healthiest range. That just means that's the usual range. Well, with blood pressure, when blood pressure first became measured and they created these devices that could measure blood pressure, doctors started studying what's average blood pressure because they didn't know. They'd never been measured before, right? So they started measuring blood pressure in people, and they started to create a database of the most common blood pressures in people who appeared to be healthy. And that's how they came up with these normal guidelines, right? Here's the most common blood pressure range. And then they saw these people who are having heart attacks, these people who are having chest pain, right? Their blood pressure is higher than the average, right? But here's what happened. They started sometimes seeing athletes whose blood pressure was lower than normal. And what they used to do back then, this really happened in the history of medicine, is they would tell the athletes to stop exercising until their blood pressure came back to normal. Now we know better. Now we can laugh at it, right? Because that's ideal to have a blood pressure that's 95/55. Your heart rate is 55 as well. And you are energized, you're fit, you're running, you're lifting. That means your heart is so strong and efficient, it can do its job beating less often because it can beat so powerfully. My heart doesn't beat as often as other people's, but bam, when it beats, it sends that blood everywhere without much pressure. Why? Because my blood vessels are open. There's nothing clogging them, right? So if you know physics, the more narrow the tube, the higher the pressure you need to move fluid through it. The more open the tube, the less pressure you need to move fluid through it. So people who are athletes, who have open blood vessels because they're eating plants and their cholesterol is low, they're going to need less pressure and less frequent beats to get all that blood through the body even more effectively. than people with higher blood pressure whose heart beats more often. So we didn't know that when we first were measuring blood pressures, and now we do. So yeah, if your blood pressure is going down because you're hyper-nourishing on a plant-based diet and you feel amazing, that's because your heart's even healthier than it was before. There's nothing to worry about. Just like there are people whose labs, when they're hyper-nourishing and getting healthy, sometimes they're out of the normal range, but it's because they're healthier than normal people, and the range at that lab doesn't accommodate that because it's not usual. So that's why it's so important to have the context and to know the difference. And I hope all of you have the same problem with this beautiful low pressure that this person's having. Okay, let's see what Facebook's asking. All right. All right, classical music. Have you had success with your protocols for Crohn's disease? Do you make modifications since the digestive tract is already damaged from inflammation? I have extraordinary success in Crohn's. So far, all of my rapid recovery clients for Crohn's, all of them did not have symptoms and reduced their ESR and their calprotectin usually to normal within 4 to 5 weeks. So it is extremely effective for Crohn's. And you have to understand, the one thing that makes contact with your intestines every day is your food. So what are you putting into the intestines? What are they coming into in contact with? Do I make modifications? Sometimes. If somebody, let's say I have some folks with Crohn's that their medications already are making them asymptomatic, full protocol, fantastic. They don't have any symptoms. Let's get them the rest of the way healed. Other folks who have symptoms, then I will make some adjustments depending on what's going on. The most dramatic case I had was a young man, I think he was about 21, and his parents had made an appointment with him and me months before, and he sat through the appointment because his parents basically made him, but he refused to do anything I said. He ate only fast food. Taco Bell was his favorite. And it didn't matter what I said to him. He's like, okay, mom, dad, I did the appointment and I'm eating Taco Bell and that's it. And so it was like 4 or 5 months later, and I see that this family bought my 4-week rapid recovery program for their son. And I called them and I said, let me refund this back to you. Your son does not want to do this program and you're going to waste your money. I don't want to do this program with someone who doesn't want to do it. He's going to be mad. I'm not going to be effective and you're going to be out the money. Like, I don't want to do it, And they said, no, he wants it. I said, what? What do you mean he wants it? They said his Crohn's got so bad that the doctor said they're going to remove his intestines and he's going to permanently have a bag on his chest for his bowel movements. It will be irreversible. They are removing the intestines. And at 21 years old, the idea of having that surgery and wearing that bag on his chest from then on suddenly made him reconsider. And at that point, he was having, 6 or more bowel movements a day, but it was all blood and mucus. And it was so painful. He was taking hydrocodone medication all day long just because he was screaming in pain every time he had a bowel movement. That was the most serious case I got. And at the end of 4 weeks, the diarrhea was gone, the pain was gone, and he didn't need the surgery. But I wasn't able to start him on the full protocol because there's no way. So I had to start him more slowly. I started him with let's get the water intake, let's get some fresh pressed juices to get your blood sugar up and my omega-3s. And I worked with him slowly and it was very difficult. I mean, if everything's just coming out all day long with blood, we got to calm the intestines down first. So I will customize how I do it based on the severity of the symptoms. Most people are somewhere between no symptoms from meds and that young man. But our results are absolutely fantastic. And even in Crohn's, stress is always associated with the first outbreak. One of our clients who did a rapid recovery group, awesome young man. He got the first episode of Crohn's when he found out he was waitlisted at the Ivy League school he wanted to go to. And he had worked so hard to get into the school. He took every AP course. His own high school didn't have all the AP courses, so he took the others at different high schools to make sure he took every AP course. Who does that? He was a brilliant young man. And when he got waitlisted, boom, the diarrhea started, the blood started. So his mom followed me and put him in my rapid recovery group. And I taught self-care. He did not know self-care. He never left that group. He was either studying or playing video games. And he did my protocol. He learned self-care. He gets massages. He plays sports with his friends now. He goes out and has fun. This young man, right, 19. And he did my full protocol. He was able to do the full protocol. And at the end of that group, all of his markers were negative. Calprotectin, blood markers. He was considered you could not find any Crohn's in his system at all. And because he's an overachiever, he signed up for another round of the group. Again, I'm placing a call. What are you doing? You already don't have Crohn's disease. Why are you joining my group again? And he said, because my mom made me my smoothies the first time. I'm going back to school, and I want to make sure that I know how to do it. So from his dorm room at his college, he did another round of the group on his own and just locked it in. And then he left, and he's done like investing courses with my husband. This kid, he's going to be president one day. He's amazing. But it also had a stress component. And a lot of folks I see with inflammatory bowel disease, they need to combine the nutrition and the stress help in order to get those results. Okay, let's see here. All right. Diane, do you recommend to do a cleaning or a fasting before starting your diet? Fasting, maybe? No, you don't have to do that. I want to help. When people just write "help me," I feel sad, but totally at a loss because I don't know what you need from me. So please write out the question in a way where I can help. Because all I can do is send you love, happy soul, because I don't know what you're asking me. Let me see. Lachelle Aruda, if I have Hashimoto's and cancer, name the vegetables I should not eat. There's no vegetables you shouldn't eat for Hashimoto's and cancer. Vegetables are your friend. You shouldn't eat meat. You shouldn't eat dairy. You shouldn't eat processed foods. But vegetables, they're all on the table. All right, let me see here. All right, let's see. Shelly, hi, Dr. G. Is flax oil, flaxseed okay for teen boys to take at these high doses? Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let's see. Let's go back over to Instagram, get a couple more in here. Let's see. Let's see. Karen says, I've read the optic nerve can't regenerate because it has no myelin. What do you think about that? Well, I can tell you that when it comes to the nervous system, there are nerves that are damaged and stay damaged, and then there are nerves that can repair. Back when I was in medical school, over 20 years ago, let me be real, it was a while ago, I know, they were telling us that nerves can't repair themselves at all. But that's not true. I have helped people reverse MS. I've helped people reverse the symptoms of ALS. I have helped people reverse neuropathies. So I absolutely, and when people have inflammation in the nerves, it does get better. So optic neuritis, for example, gets better. So I think instead of looking at assuming you can, all you can do is try and see. I just got off the line with someone who I think was probably watching. You said you come to Wellness Wednesday, who, she's doing my protocol to try to help her blood sugar get better. But she said her vision got better, 1 point on one eye and 2 points on the other eye. That we know that vision gets better. We know glaucoma goes away. We know optic neuritis can get better. We know that uveitis gets better. So if you're looking for results, the good news is if you do the protocol, it's not specific for a specific part of the body. It's specific for cellular repair and inflammation. So there's always benefits. So you can always try and you won't be sad because something will get better and you'll see, is any of the symptom that I'm having due to irreparable damage to the nerve or some of it inflammatory, and in which case you can see improvements happen. All right. Be Surrealist. How do I learn about your protocol? Which book should I get? So specifically just for, if you're just looking for the nutrition protocol, Goodbye Lupus. It has my story and also the 6 steps to healing with supermarket foods. And what you want to get with it is Goodbye Lupus, Hello Delicious, because that's the recipes. Those two together, that nails down what you should eat, what you shouldn't eat, and how to make it taste good. Boom. If you know you need help with the emotional side of it, that's what we call a Goodbye Autoimmune Protocol. That's in my book, Goodbye Autoimmune Disease. So if you get those three, you got what to eat, what not to eat, the lifestyle changes and emotional work you need to do, and the recipes to make it taste good. You get those things together, you have everything you need. All right, let's see here. Let's get a couple more from the Facebook side. All right, let's see what we got down here. Anita wants to know about iodine brands in Canada. I don't know. Try to look for ones with similar ingredients to the ones on my Amazon list. Let me see here. Lalise, do you work with kids? Absolutely. Absolutely, I work with kids. The youngest I've helped reverse disease is 2. So absolutely, I work with kids. And they heal quickly. Aw, Patience, thank you. I love you back. I appreciate I have the kindest followers. I swear, you guys always just give me so much love. I appreciate it. Okay. Let's see. I can't really comment on your medications, folks, especially about whether or not you should take something. That's a question for your doctors. So I am skipping those. All right. JM Brett, hey doc, can we still continue smoothie if infected with Pseudomonas organism causing bronchiectasis? Yes, and you should. So one of the really amazing things about cruciferous vegetables specifically is they contain an ingredient called sulforaphane. You've probably heard me talk about sulforaphane before because it is found to be anti-cancer and it is found to be antiviral. But they've also found that specifically sulforaphane, an ingredient found only in raw cruciferous. If you cook cruciferous, sulforaphane goes away. They did a study that showed that if you just ate broccoli, they looked at broccoli specifically, raw broccoli, the blood level of sulforaphane was about 37%, cooked broccoli about 3%. And that's not to mention how much the vitamin C was gone and other amazing parts of it were gone. But sulforaphane alone has been shown to dramatically lower inflammation in the lungs. It's one of the reasons why it's so helpful in COVID. It's antiviral, but also anti-inflammatory to lung tissue. So I 100% would be doing that with any kind of lung issues. So, okay, guys, that is all I got for you today. There's so many of you here, but I hope this was helpful to all of you. Remember, Stress Awareness Month. I don't want you just aware of your stress. I want you to take action on it. I want to see next week on Wellness Wednesday, I want to see updates from you in the comments about the things that you're doing to help yourself with stress that have helped you feel better from this week to next week. It will help you heal faster. You're spending your time listening to me because you want to get healthier and live better. The best thing you can do is work on your own happiness. It can change the quality of your health in your life immediately, even while you're waiting for the nutrition to do all the work on cellular repair. So I hope that helps you, and I will see you all next week, everybody. Bye, everybody.